There was once a man who gave everything: his time, his patience, his loyalty. Whenever a friend was in need, he was there, offering his couch when someone was evicted, lending money he didn't have, answering late-night calls when their world was collapsing. But when he lost his job, when his father passed, when he himself needed to be held, there was no one. This is not a rare story. It echoes quietly behind many hearts that no longer trust as freely. Modern life parades connection as the highest virtue, telling us we must always be surrounded, always liked, always available. But beneath the selfies and shared meals lies something colder, a silent contract of usefulness. Many of us are not loved. We are used beautifully, and when the season of our usefulness ends, so too does the illusion of friendship. Ask yourself, who are the people in your life when you have nothing to offer? Who remains when you stop performing the role they cast you in? This is not bitterness speaking, but spiritual discernment. True connection is rare, not because people are cruel, but because most are disconnected from themselves. When you have no inner center, you borrow someone else's presence, feeding from their calm, their laughter, their light until it runs dry. We reflect what we need, and in that mirror, we often confuse survival for intimacy. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Let's get into it. How many of your friends would stay if you lost everything? It's a quiet question, one we rarely ask, because deep down, we already know the answer. In the light of comfort, in the ease of laughter, many will gather around you. But when the feast ends, when the lights dim and silence takes its place, few remain. That's when you begin to see the difference between presence and connection. In today's world, friendship often wears the mask of transaction. Not always out of cruelty, sometimes simply because people are trying to survive in their own way. We seek those who bring warmth, status, distraction, or affirmation. We love connection, yes, but many love what connection gives them more than what it truly means. We tell ourselves it's mutual, that it's real. But beneath every favor, every smile, every "I'm here for you," quiet conditions are written in invisible ink. And still, we long deeply for those who stay. For companions of the soul, not just companions of circumstance. For those who remain when the laughter fades, when the storms roll in, when all that's left is the raw truth of who we are without performance. Spiritually, not all who walk beside you are meant to stay on your path. Some are sent to awaken lessons, others to reflect the wounds you haven't yet healed. And a rare few, sacred and quiet, arrive simply to grow with you. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they're aligned with your purpose. And that's not a reason to harden, but a reason to discern. To look not with the eyes, but with the soul. To feel deeply who truly stands with you, and who is merely standing nearby. The illusion of friendship is seductive. It's warm, it's familiar. But truth, even when it's cold, is the only ground solid enough to stand on. You're allowed to outgrow connections. You're allowed to seek depth over comfort. You're allowed to be alone rather than surrounded by those who never truly saw you. Because real friendship doesn't require your light to shine. It stays when you're dim, when you're quiet, when you're broken and still sacred. Not all that feels warm is safe. Sometimes, manipulation wears the softest smile. It arrives dressed as generosity, cloaked in admiration, whispering things you've waited your whole life to hear. It doesn't need to shout or threaten. It simply listens, learns, and mimics love. We often picture manipulation as loud, aggressive, obvious. But the most dangerous kind is quiet, gentle, patient. It studies you. It finds the cracks in your spirit and pours honey into them, not to heal, but to soften your guard. In this world, masks are not worn just on the face, but on the soul. Some people become what you need them to be, not because they care, but because they know how to extract what they want. Appearances matter more than truth in the game of power, and some play that game so well, you won't realize you're a piece on their board until it's too late. And isn't that the spiritual trap? When you confuse attention for affection. When someone's interest feels like intimacy, but it's actually investment in your energy, your time, your trust. They flatter you, but flattery is the perfume of betrayal. Sweet, disarming, and often a signal that someone wants something from you more than they want you. It can be a coworker who always has your back, but never speaks your name when you're not around. A family member who gives with one hand and guilt trips with the other. A partner who calls you perfect while slowly reshaping you into a version that serves them better. Spiritual clarity means seeing beyond the surface, past the gifts, the compliments, the convenient affection. If someone always praises you, ask yourself why. What do they gain by keeping you soft, agreeable, predictable? True connection doesn't manipulate, it liberates. It honors your spirit rather than trying to mold it. It supports your boundaries rather than pushing against them with charm. In a world full of emotional masks, learn to feel the energy behind the expression. Because the soul always knows. Even when the mind is flattered, the spirit whispers, "This is not love. This is strategy." And your intuition, that quiet voice beneath the noise, is not trying to ruin your relationships. It's trying to protect your peace. In a world that often mistakes softness for weakness, being too good can quietly become a curse. You try to be kind, to understand, to give the benefit of the doubt. You forgive what wounds you. You explain what shouldn't need explaining. You hope, not because people deserve it, but because your heart doesn't know how not to. And yet, it is often the gentle souls who are the most bruised. Philosophers like Nietzsche and Machiavelli understood something we rarely admit. In a world built on survival, virtue can be dangerous. When your goodness becomes predictable, it becomes exploitable. When your compassion has no boundaries, it becomes currency for those who give nothing in return. But being good does not mean being blind. Even Christ flipped the tables in the temple, not out of cruelty, but clarity. Even light must defend itself, especially when shadows disguise themselves as need. And sometimes, the most spiritual act isn't to forgive again, but to walk away. There is a quiet strength in balance. In knowing when to give and when to say no. In realizing that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is sacred. It is a form of honoring the divine within you. You can be kind and still draw lines. You can be loving and still walk away. You can be spiritual and still be fierce. Because not all light is soft. Fire is also light, and it burns. When you grow spiritually, you begin to see that boundaries are not walls. They are invitations. They ask the world, if you want access to me, you must meet me in truth. So be good. But don't be naive. Offer your heart, but not to hands that only take. Shine your light, but not for those who seek to dim it for their comfort. Your soul is not a doormat. It is a flame, and it deserves to burn without apology. We're taught to wear loyalty like a badge, to stand by others no matter what. But what if that very belief is what keeps us chained to people who stopped walking beside us long ago? Loyalty, in truth, isn't eternal. It shifts with time, it bends with change, and sometimes it simply ends. To cling to someone just because of shared history is to betray the present version of yourself, the one who is quietly whispering, "This no longer fits." We grow, we evolve, we outgrow, and that's not failure, that's movement. Some people are meant for a chapter, not the whole book, and trying to force them into pages they were never meant to touch only distorts the story. Letting go isn't betrayal. It's clarity. Philosophers have always known, people adapt to survive. Sometimes that means they choose themselves, not you. That hurts, yes. But it's not always wrong. Spiritually, this is where discernment matters more than devotion. Alignment over attachment. Energy over effort. Just because someone remains physically close doesn't mean they're still walking with you in spirit. Even Judas walked beside Jesus. Presence is not proof of loyalty. Some people will cheer for you in the sun but vanish in the storm. Some are loyal only to the parts of you that benefit them. Others are loyal until you grow beyond what they can control. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you build walls. It means you build doors, and not everyone gets a key. It means your love isn't blind anymore. It sees. It senses. It chooses wisely. Let your loyalty be mutual, not one-sided. Let it be earned, not assumed. And if it fades, don't chase it. Some souls were meant to teach, not stay. And the lesson is simple. Protecting your peace is also a form of loyalty to yourself. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through compliments, through gratitude, through the careful placement of guilt. It looks like care, but it feels like pressure. It looks like closeness, but it binds you in invisible chains. In relationships, romantic, platonic, even familial, there are power games so subtle they almost feel like love. But love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't demand your silence when your soul is suffocating. Machiavelli once said, "People don't love you, they love the version of you that serves them." And when that version starts to evolve, when it starts to speak, to shine, to set boundaries, suddenly the love turns cold. Conditional. Strategic. It's here where spirituality offers something different. A lens of detachment, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. True detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's choosing to observe the energy of your connections without being entangled in them. To ask, am I being loved, or am I being used? Am I free, or am I being subtly owned? Some people don't fear losing you. They fear losing your obedience, your attention, your constant yes. That's not friendship. That's ownership. And the soul, though kind, was never meant to be caged. We are energy, and energy must flow freely. Any relationship built on guilt, obligation, or fear is already imbalanced. Love should not feel like a transaction. Presence should not feel like a performance. If you have to shrink to stay connected, you're not in love, you're in survival. You don't owe anyone your light at the cost of your flame. You don't owe anyone access just because they once held the key. Ask yourself quietly, do I feel safe to be my full self here, or do I feel managed? Do I feel seen, or just tolerated? That answer, unspoken as it may be, is the truth. When love becomes a stage, the soul becomes the actor. But healing begins the moment you step out of the role and walk off the script. Trust is sacred. A fragile thread spun from soul to soul, invisible but deeply felt. And when placed blindly into the hands of the wrong person, it doesn't just break, it wounds. There is a quiet ache that comes from being deceived. Not because someone fooled you, but because you betrayed yourself to believe them. You silenced your gut, ignored the shift in their tone, explained away the unease. You wanted to believe so badly that you gave them your peace, your time, your light, freely. But spiritual truth has never been about blindness. It's about discernment. Trust is not something to be thrown like coins into a fountain, hoping it will bring you love. Trust is earned slowly, through energy, presence, and consistency. When you give trust without wisdom, you offer pieces of your soul to those who do not have the depth to hold them. And the cost? You lose your rhythm. You question your own reflection. You dim your intuition just to maintain a connection. But the soul never lies. It whispers, even as your heart insists. It nudges, even as your mind justifies. It tells you, in stillness, what your spirit has known all along. The truth is, every time you ignore your gut, you betray your soul. And no betrayal cuts deeper than the one you inflict upon yourself. Let this be a gentle reminder. Your trust is holy. Your energy is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to the temple of your spirit. Give slowly. Observe deeply. And when your inner voice speaks, listen. Sometimes it's not what people do, it's what they don't. Silence can scream louder than words. Absence can wound more deeply than betrayal. You'll notice it in small ways at first. You're always the one reaching out. The conversations only happen when you initiate them. When life blesses you, they grow quiet. When pain visits you, they vanish. There's a chill beneath their smile. A hesitation in their hug. Subtle jealousy when you shine. Dismissiveness when you open up. You mention your growth, they change the subject. You speak of your healing, they minimize it. These are not harmless patterns. They're soul-level clues. False friends don't need to stab you in the back. They just need to step aside when you fall. They let the world tear you down, while they watch, quietly, from the shadows. Some will gaslight you, not with violence, but with softness. You're too sensitive. You're imagining it. But deep down, your spirit knows when you are not loved in truth. You feel it in the exhaustion, in the forced laughter, in the way you start doubting your own joy. Spiritual awareness begins in stillness. Journal your feelings. Sit in silence after being with someone. Ask your higher self, honestly, does this person drain me or elevate me? Your soul already knows the answer. It's not looking for proof, it's waiting for your permission to walk away. Because if someone doesn't clap for your light, they might be hiding from it. And light, no matter how dimmed, was never meant to be buried. Letting go isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's the sacred act of returning to yourself. Some people were chapters, not the whole story. Some arrived as lessons, not lifelines. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to explain yourself. Just bless their path and close the door. Disconnection doesn't mean bitterness. It means healing. There is a deep, spiritual power in walking away from what drains you, from what silences your soul, from what keeps you small to keep others comfortable. Rumi once wrote, "Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form." And it's true, every ending carries the seeds of beginning. Every goodbye clears the path for a truer yes. So choose your peace over performance. Choose your spirit over their approval. Choose wholeness, even if it means being alone for a while. Because sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. If this message spoke to your soul, take a moment to reflect, and if you feel called, subscribe for more videos that speak softly but deeply. Your journey deserves light, even in the darkest rooms.